If your manifestation keeps failing, it's not the universe, it's not you, it's likely your self-concept. You've probably heard that your self-concept is the key to unlocking manifestation. But if you've ever wondered why endless affirmations and visualizations don't seem to change anything, you're not alone. In this video, I'm going to break down what your self-concept really is, why it feels so hard to shift, and how easy it can actually be to shift and change. And stay tuned till the end, because I will also reveal a sneaky way your self-concept hides from you, tricks you, and that part could absolutely change everything. If you're new here, hello, I'm your muse Traci. On this channel, I teach you how to peel back limiting beliefs and unlock your limitless self so manifestation becomes effortless. Now let's dive in to the concept today. So I want to explain your self-concept in the simplest of terms. Self-concept isn't just the story you hold about who you are and what you're worthy of. It's not just your thoughts, it's your identity. It's the automatic filter through which you experience life and you view life from. It's who you identify yourself to be and the place that you then operate from. It's your come from in every area of your life. And it's unique in every area of your life. In one area, you may have a really high self-concept. In another area, you may have a lower self-concept. So it's very unique and very specific in different areas of your life. And it's deeply subconscious. Again, as I already said, it's what you operate from. You don't even really consciously know you're doing it until you are. And I'm going to talk about how you become aware of it in just a moment. So it's deeply subconscious until you shine a light on it and make it conscious. And one of the ways that you can do that, you can easily do that, is by identifying repeating patterns in your life. For example, if you're always being left by your partner or you're always being let down, you have a self-concept that puts you in that role. If you're always being betrayed by a friend or not prioritized by friends and family, you have a self-concept that puts you in that role. And, I could go on and on and on with examples, but I think you get the point here. When you notice patterns showing up in your life, this is an insight into, again, it's not just your thoughts. You didn't think about, oh, I'm not prioritized. You maybe did after the fact, but you didn't think about it consciously. It's literally your come from, what you operate from. It's deeply subconscious and it's creating all of your behaviors and it's creating your life. And again, by identifying these patterns, we can start to recognize and see that that is an insight into our self-concept. If you've ever played a video game, for an example, let's do an analogy here, or even if you've just watched someone play a video game, a lot of times the first thing you do in setting up the game is you create your character. You select the type of character, the role you're playing in the video game, and this starts at a really high level, like you're maybe a kung fu master, or maybe you're a magician, or maybe you're a gymnast, or a big strong guy. It starts at this really high level. And you refine it from there all the way down to, maybe the clothes, the outfit that you're wearing, or the hairstyle that you have. Well, this is exactly what your self-concept is. It's the role, the high-level role that you positioned yourself in your life. It could be the role of not being chosen, not being capable of huge success, not being prioritized or loved for who you are. Again, examples can go on and on and on. But unlike the video game avatar, you didn't choose this role consciously. No, these roles were chosen or learned unconsciously through your environment, through your conditioning at a young age, very young age, before you would have known that you had a choice. You didn't consciously choose this, yet you are deeply in it. This is just how it works. And although you may not like the role that you've chosen, nothing has gone wrong here. Okay, this is I don't want to get too deep in this video about this, but this is, a deeper topic for another day. But I just want to put this in here that, nothing has gone wrong if you find yourself in a role that you don't now choose. This is just how it works. And there is a higher purpose for you, ending up in this role. You didn't end up here. Again, it's a topic for another video, but there's a higher purpose, and it's not a mistake, and it's not an oopsie, and it's not, a coincidence either. And you're not being punished either by being in this role and having this conditioning that you didn't necessarily choose. And you don't have bad karma. This isn't about karma. It's all chosen by your higher self or your soul, whatever you want to call it, for the purpose of you breaking out of these limitations, these potentially, patterns from your entire family lineage or history, right, for lifetimes. So there is a higher purpose to this role that you took on, got conditioned into at a young age. So leave me a comment if you want to see a video on that. I could talk a lot more on that, but again, that's not what this video is about. So back to your avatar. You didn't choose it, and you have to recognize that it goes this deep, meaning it is essentially your whole identity. Once you realize this isn't just about thoughts, this isn't about, correcting it on a surface level by affirming 24/7. Once you do realize that this is essentially a role, a whole identity, it is easy, so easy to change. Think of it like the operating system running in the background. It dictates how all of your apps run and function. But if you change at the level of the operating system, everything changes, right? You don't try to go in and change all the apps one by one and, handle it on that level. No, if you want to change it all, again, in this analogy of the operating system, you go and you change the entire operating system. And that's what I'm talking about here with your identity. So why is it that most people find this is hard to change? So this is what I hear from a lot of my clients. You affirm daily and constantly, this constant affirmation, I'm loved, I'm abundant, I'm worthy, I'm chosen, I'm wanted, but still nothing changes. And it's because you're trying to repeat something in the hopes that you will change something, hoping to change out there, hoping to get evidence that confirms your constant affirming. But unfortunately, you still think that you are this unconscious role. Again, you haven't addressed it at the level of your identity. So you think you are this identity, and you're affirming to change something out there and get the evidence, and then you'll be okay to change. You still think that you are the one who is not chosen, and you're trying to get results that show you, okay, now I'm chosen. And you think you are not abundant, and you're trying to get the evidence that you are abundant, out there. And you think you are not chosen or not wanted, and you're trying to get the evidence out there that you are wanted. So it's not that you're doing it wrong. It's that no one probably has ever told you that it's about this deeper level of identity, and it's not about just affirming on the surface and hoping to change something out there. So we have to go back to the root cause. And if you look at the root cause, you can see how you haven't been consciously thinking these things that are, again, at the core of your identity. You weren't thinking I'm not chosen. You weren't thinking I'm not worthy or I'm not abundant. You weren't consciously thinking those, but still, again, you probably notice patterns that show you, that confirm that identity, because you confirmed it, you committed to it on the level of your identity. So then let me ask you, why would this conscious affirming, constantly affirming, change anything at the deeper level? You guys get the analogy? So it's not about repeating these things a million times at the surface level. That's not the solution. No, you have to change the core identity. So you have to identify with the new things And this is exactly what I help and teach my clients to do in my intensive one-on-one program. So let's talk about a step-by-step approach to this. First is the awareness. Notice the identity you're living from. Again, you do that through noticing patterns, noticing how circumstances and situations keep showing you, I'm not enough, I'm always abandoned, etc., etc. This is about recognizing the patterns that keep repeating in your life, that you keep living and experiencing over and over and over, and breaking out of the illusion that this is being done to you. No, that's not what's happening. Everything is reflecting you, remember? So it's important to have the awareness and recognize these patterns. This is essential, but most people struggle with this part because they can see how they keep experiencing the same thing over and over. They see the pattern. Most people do. They see the pattern, but breaking out of the illusion that people are just, whatever, self-centered, or people are just fill in the blank, whatever you're going to say after that. Whatever you are going to say is not true. This is where you break out of the illusion and you have to bring it back to yourself. What must I believe about myself? What must I believe in my self-concept that is causing this repeating pattern? Start to look from the perspective of this is something I'm holding within me. Right? And then the next step is you realize you are not bound to this because of your family lineage that might have carried it for, lifetimes. Or you've been practicing this identity, yourself for years. And you've been operating from this identity not because it's proof, but because you didn't even know that you had a choice, right? You didn't know that you could choose something different. And if you didn't choose it, and if it's not what you now want, then you start to allow yourself to put it down, right? You have to have this realization that this was never yours in the first place. It wasn't what you chose. It isn't your truth. It is not your truth. And when you have this realization that it's just an idea, it's just a lens, it's just a filter that you've been carrying with you, but you're actually free to put it down. You're free to release that idea, release that lens, release that filter at any time. And then once you have that realization, then you can start to recreate or reframe your identity. Choose the role and the identity that you actually want to embody. I'm magnetic, I'm chosen, I'm abundant, I'm wanted. And again, not from the level of affirming, from the level of this is my identity, this is my role that I'm now from this moment, right? You can choose it at any moment. You say, this is now the role. I'm not affirming this, waiting for the evidence to prove it to me. No, I'm choosing this and I'm being this. I'm stepping into this. I'm identifying with this without any proof because you don't need the proof. Now, the important thing here is that you're not just choosing this one time. You choose this each time you notice the old role showing up in either your circumstances or it could be in your thoughts. How are you positioning and seeing yourself? Every single time this comes up, you have to release the old role and remind yourself of your new role: chosen, magnetic, worthy, abundant, wanted, anything you want. And when you do this, you start to embody it. You start to live as if this is already who you are, not just in affirmations, but in your choices, in your feelings. And you do this by remembering, again, that you are not the previous identity. It's just an identity that you picked up and carried with you. And now that you've put it down, you remember, I have this new identity. You never chose that old identity to begin with. I think it's so important to keep reminding yourself that it's not the truth and you didn't choose it. And it doesn't matter how much evidence you have from that old identity. You have this new identity and it is your freedom, your birthright to choose this new identity. And again, you don't just pick it up once. You have to keep picking it up again and again and again, and it will get easier, but you have to stay consistent and you have to stay aware. Really, that was the first step. Aware that it does take practice. You're basically practicing this new identity, how long? Until it becomes effortless, until you don't have to practice it anymore. So as an example, one of my one-on-one clients who I was working with, and we were talking about her self-concept, and specifically around being wanted, which is a very common one, by the way. And she was approaching this from the level of, constant repetitive affirmations all day long. I'm wanted, I'm wanted, I'm wanted, I'm wanted, I'm wanted. And she had been doing it for quite a while too. And then we discussed, and she was saying, I've been doing this. What do you recommend? Because I don't really feel like it's doing much. And I shared with her, I tried that in my own journey, and that never worked for me either. So we discussed this very concept of shifting from a place of your identity, right? Rather than holding the old identity and trying to affirm over it and hoping to get evidence of the new identity, you just simply choose the new identity before you have any evidence. Again, this is your power, this is your birthright. And not from a place of trying to get proof. No, it's from a place of, this is who I'm now choosing to be. This is the role that I'm now stepping into. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to be this person who is wanted, because I know everything in my reality will fill in around that. I'll start to get the evidence. And that is exactly how it works. When you stop needing the evidence out there, that's exactly when you get it. And that's exactly what happened with my client. She did start to get the evidence in her outer reality because she stepped into this role from the place of her identity. She wasn't seeking the evidence outside of her. And that's the thing, you guys, this can all happen very quickly. It doesn't need to be this long, impossible, never-ending journey to change your self-concept. It doesn't, not when you do it from this level of the identity. So now, as I promised in the beginning, I want to share with you a sneaky way that your self-concept hides from you. So this is especially important if you're trying to manifest a specific person, because this way that your self-concept hides from you can sabotage you, and nothing can really stop you, but it can delay your, it can block you. It can be a block as you're trying to manifest your specific person. So when you are thinking about what the other person thinks about you, this is your self-concept. Please write this down, make it a note, and do not ever forget this again. I'll repeat it. When you are thinking about what the other person thinks about you, this is your self-concept. It's not actually what the other person is thinking. The truth is, you don't know what the other person is thinking. You're making it up. And you're making it up through the lens, the filter of what? Your self-concept. But if you're operating from the illusion that, no, this is what the other person thinks of me, they're not choosing me, they don't want me, they don't, prefer me. I even have evidence because they said that to me. If you're in this illusion, you're essentially powerless to change anything. And you're going to keep operating from this assumption, and you're going to keep getting more evidence. So you have to break out of the illusion and see this. And it starts with you. Again, you always have to go first and step into the new identity, and then make up new ideas about what the other person is thinking. This is, again, you get to just make it up. You won't be able to do this, though, if you haven't yet changed how you think about you. So important. I cannot stress this enough. So stop trying to get the other person to think so highly of you when you haven't done the work to think more highly of yourself. You're jumping the gun a bit. It won't work. Again, this is exactly what I help my clients do in my one-on-one intensive coaching program. You can find all of that in the description down below. So it's time to wrap this video up. So if you've struggled to change your self-concept and you've tried endless repetitions, affirmations, and it's just not working, it's not because you're broken, it's not because you haven't tried, it's simply because you haven't started back at the root, back at your identity, and you haven't yet realized that your identity, your very identity, is your choice. You get to choose. So I am your muse, Tracy, and remember, when you shift your self-concept, the life you're manifesting will unlock on every level. If this resonated with you, please hit the like button. And if you need some help shifting your self-concept once and for all, and from this level of your identity, check out the link down below for my one-on-one coaching, and let me know in the comments what self-concept you're shifting into next, because I love hearing your stories and seeing your comments. And I'll see you guys in the next video.